I thought kindness was harmless. That's what good people told me anyway. That small acts of generosity ripple outward. That paying for a stranger's coffee might be the bright spot in someone's terrible day. I believed it the way you believe in gravity. Unconsciously, completely, until the moment it fails you and you're falling. It was a Tuesday. The kind of ordinary Tuesday that disappears into the blur of all the other Tuesdays, where nothing matters and everything is beige. I'd just finished the breakfast shift at Rosie's Diner, my feet aching in shoes I couldn't afford to replace, my hair smelling like bacon grease and broken dreams. The coffee shop next door, Java Junction, with its pretentious chalkboard menu and students pretending to write novels, was my ritual. 1 medium coffee, black, no room for cream because cream costs extra, and I counted every dollar like a miser counting sins. The line moved slowly. I scrolled through my phone, deleting emails I'd never read, when I felt it. That pressure on the back of your neck when someone's watching. Not casual observation, the kind of attention that has weight, that lands on your skin like a hand you didn't give permission to touch you. I looked up. He stood 3 people behind me, and he didn't belong. Not here. Not in this neighborhood where college kids wore thrifted flannel and everyone's shoes had seen better decades. His suit was black, perfectly tailored, the kind of expensive that whispers instead of shouts. Dark hair swept back from a face carved from something harder than flesh. All angles and shadows, and a mouth that looked like it had forgotten how to smile years ago. His eyes were darker still. They swept the room methodically, cataloging exits, threats, witnesses. Then they landed on me. I looked away too fast. My heart kicked against my ribs like it was trying to escape. Next, the barista called. I ordered my usual, fumbling with my debit card, trying to disappear into my own skin. But when she asked if that was all, I heard myself say something I hadn't planned. And whatever he's having. I didn't point. I didn't look back. But somehow, we both knew. The barista's eyebrows rose. The gentleman in the Armani. Sure. Yes, him. It cost me $12 total. More than I should spend. More than made sense. But he'd looked tired. Beneath the expensive armor and the dangerous stillness, something in his face reminded me of exhaustion. The kind you wear when you've forgotten what rest feels like. I took my coffee to a corner table and tried to disappear into my phone. Tried to forget the impulse. Tried to convince myself it was normal. That anonymous generosity was fine. That you didn't have to do that. His voice was low, textured like smoke over gravel. He stood beside my table, espresso in hand, close enough that I could smell cedar and something else. Gunpowder, maybe, or just the scent of expensive cologne mixed with danger. I looked up. Mistake. It's nothing, I said. My voice sounded smaller than I wanted it to. Just paying it forward. You looked like you could use it. I look like I need charity. There was no anger in his tone, just curiosity, cold and precise as a scalpel. No. I stopped. Started again. You looked human? That's all. Something flickered in his eyes. Not quite a smile, but close enough to make my breath catch. He sat down without asking. The chair across from me became his throne. Emily Harris, he said. My blood went cold. How do you... Your name tag. He gestured to my uniform, the plastic rectangle pinned above my heart that announced me to every customer, every stranger. But somehow, when he said it, it sounded like more than a name, like a claim. He studied me the way art appraisers study paintings, cataloging value, noting flaws, deciding worth. His gaze traced the frayed hem of my coat, the small scar above my left eyebrow from a childhood fall, the way my fingers wrapped too tightly around my coffee cup. Apartment 4B, he continued, his voice still that same terrible calm. Lexington Street, the building with the broken buzzer and the landlord who's 2 months behind on repairs. You work doubles on Thursdays. You take the crosstown bus at 6:45. You read murder mysteries on your phone and you bite your thumbnail when you're nervous. The coffee shop sounds faded. The world narrowed to his voice, his eyes, the impossible fact that this stranger knew my life. You're scaring me, I whispered. Good. He stood, smoothing his suit jacket with practiced ease. Fear keeps people alive. He placed a business card on the table. Matt Black, no name, just a phone number embossed in silver. His fingers were scarred across the knuckles, working hands in a $1,000 suit. I don't take charity, Emily. My name in his mouth was a weapon, but I always pay my debts. Then he was gone, moving through the crowd like smoke, like shadow, like something that was never really there at all. I stared at the card for 5 full minutes before my hands stopped shaking enough to pick it up. I should have thrown it away, should have run, should have done anything except sit there, feeling the weight of his attention like a brand on my skin. That night, a black car idled outside my apartment building for 3 hours. The next morning, there was an envelope in my mailbox. Inside, a crisp $5 bill and a note on expensive cardstock. I don't take charity, but I always pay my debts. D. I told myself it was over, that whatever strange moment we'd shared in that coffee shop was finished, forgotten, filed away in the drawer where weird encounters go to die. I was so stupid, because the following day, 3 men in suits walked into Rosie's diner during the lunch rush. They sat in my section, booth by the window, and they didn't look at menus. They just watched, silent, patient, predators pretending to be human. When I brought water with trembling hands, the one in the middle, silver-haired, with eyes like coins, smiled at me. Not friendly, not warm. "Emily Harris," he said, like he was tasting my name. "Dominic Corleone says no one touches you." My water pitcher nearly slipped. "That means you're his now." I couldn't breathe right for 3 days. Every customer who walked through Rosie's door might be one of them. Every car that slowed near the bus stop might be watching. I started checking over my shoulder so often my neck cramped, started flinching at voices that rose too loud, started seeing threats in the way men looked at me, or didn't look at me, which was somehow worse. Dominic Corleone. I Googled the name once, late at night with my phone brightness turned down like that would somehow hide me from whoever was watching. The search results were careful. Vague, business owner, real estate investor, philanthropist with ties to 6 charities. But between the lines, in the white space around the articles that never quite said what they meant, I read the truth. Mafia, old money, blood money, the kind of power that doesn't need to announce itself because everyone already knows to be afraid. And somehow, I'd bought his coffee. The black SUV appeared on Thursday. I noticed it on my walk to work, idling across the street, windows tinted dark as secrets. It was still there when my shift ended, still there when I took the bus home, and when I climbed the steps to my apartment, a man stepped out of the shadows near the broken buzzer. He was tall, built like a wall, with a face that suggested he'd seen violence and chosen it as a career. "Miss Harris, I don't want any trouble." My keys bit into my palm. "No trouble. Mr. Corleone's orders. I'm Marco. I'll be nearby. For your safety. I don't need... not a request." His voice was flat, professional. "Have a good evening, Miss Harris." He walked back to the SUV, didn't leave, just sat there, a shadow with a purpose. And I understood that my life had stopped being mine the moment I'd smiled at that barista and said his too. Work became surreal. My coworkers noticed but didn't ask. People in our neighborhood knew better than to ask questions about men in expensive cars. My landlord, Frank, who'd been threatening eviction for 6 weeks over late rent, suddenly told me to take my time, no pressure. The building's buzzer got fixed overnight. My apartment door got a new lock, heavy duty, the kind that costs more than my monthly grocery budget. I didn't ask for any of it. But it happened anyway, like I'd become the center of some invisible machinery that moved without my consent. Friday night, 10 minutes before closing, he walked in. Dominic Corleone wore different armor this time. Charcoal suit, no tie, his collar open enough to show the hollow of his throat. He moved through Rosie's diner like he owned it, and maybe he did. Maybe he owned the whole block, the whole neighborhood, the whole city. He sat at the counter, not a booth, not a table, the counter, where I couldn't hide behind the pretense of service. "Coffee," he said. My hands shook pouring it. I set the cup down too hard. Liquid sloshed over the rim. "You can't do this!" The words came out before I could stop them. "Do what?" He didn't look at me. Just stirred sugar into coffee I knew he wouldn't drink. Assign people to follow me. Fix my apartment. Make my landlord suddenly forget I owe him money. You can't just... I stopped. Started again. "You can't control my life." Now he looked at me. Really looked. And I felt pinned, cataloged, known in ways I hadn't given permission for. I can do anything I want, Emily. That's what power means. That's what tyranny means. His mouth almost smiled. Almost. You paid for my coffee. A kind gesture. Sweet. But in my world, kindness is currency, and you just spent yours on a man who doesn't forget debts. He took a sip. Grimaced. Too much sugar. Like I'd known it would be. You saw me as human? Do you understand how rare that is? How dangerous. I'm not dangerous. I'm a waitress. You're more than that. He leaned forward, and the space between us felt electric. You looked at me and saw tired instead of terrifying. That makes you either very brave or very stupid, and I haven't decided which. My phone buzzed in my apron pocket. Once. Twice. Insistent. I pulled it out. Text messages from a number I'd blocked months ago. Derek, my ex-boyfriend who still had my spare key, who'd promised to give it back and never did, who showed up drunk sometimes and pounded on my door until neighbors complained. The messages were ugly, threatening, the kind that made my stomach clench. I know you're seeing someone, some rich asshole. You think you're better than me now? I'll come over. We'll talk about this. You can't ignore me forever. Bitch. My face must have changed. Gone white or red or something Dominic could read like a headline. Who? One word, not a question, a command. No one. It's nothing. Emily. My name again. That same terrible intimacy. Who's threatening you? Just an ex. He's harmless. Drunk. I can handle... Dominic stood, dropped 2 20s on the counter for a $3 coffee. Marco has your spare key now. Your locks are changed. And your ex-boyfriend. He buttoned his jacket with precise, practiced movements. Won't bother you again. What does that mean? He looked at me one last time. Something almost soft in his eyes. Almost kind. It means you're under my protection now, whether you want to be or not. He left. I stood behind the counter, phone heavy in my hand, and tried to convince myself that I should call the police, that I should run, that I should do anything except feel this sick sense of relief. Derek didn't text again that night. The next morning, I saw it on the news. A car fire in Brooklyn. Derek's car, stripped and torched 3 blocks from his apartment. No suspects, no witnesses, just ash and a message I understood perfectly. A note slipped under my door around noon. Problem solved. You're welcome? D. I should have been horrified. Should have packed a bag and disappeared into some city where men like Dominic Corleone didn't exist. But I wasn't horrified. I was something worse. I felt safe. And that night, at 3 a.m. when I couldn't sleep, another note appeared, not under my door this time, on my nightstand, though I'd locked every lock, though Marco was supposedly watching. A Polaroid photograph. Me, in my apartment, reading on my couch. The angle was from outside, through my window. The timestamp. Last week. Before Dominic. Before the protection. Before any of this started. I turned it over with shaking hands. Red ink. Blocky letters. You were chosen as a message. I didn't sleep after the photograph. Just sat on my couch with every light on. A kitchen knife on the cushion beside me like that would matter. Like I could fight off whatever shadow had been watching me for weeks. Months, maybe. The timestamp haunted me. Last Tuesday, casual as breathing, someone had stood outside my window and stolen a piece of my life. I'd thought I was invisible. The kind of invisible that comes from being ordinary, from working doubles and riding buses and never mattering enough to notice. But someone had noticed. Someone had been studying me like a test I didn't know I was taking. At 6 a.m., I called the number on the black business card. He answered on the first ring. No greeting, just silence, waiting. There's a photograph. My voice cracked. Someone was watching me. Before the coffee shop. Before you... I know. His voice was different on the phone. Closer, somehow. Intimate. I'm outside. Get dressed. What? The line went dead. He was leaning against a black Mercedes when I came downstairs. Marco standing sentinel by the driver's door. Dominic wore dark jeans and a leather jacket, dressed down but still dangerous, still precise. He took the Polaroid from my trembling hand, studied it with that same terrible calm. You can get in the car, Emily. Where are we? Get in the car. Not angry. Just absolute. The voice of a man who didn't waste time on arguments he'd already won. I got in the car. We drove east, toward the industrial waterfront where the city stopped pretending to be civilized. Shipping containers stacked like metal tombstones. Warehouses with broken windows and doors that opened onto darkness. Marco navigated streets without signs, turned down alleys that didn't exist on maps, and I understood that we were entering a geography that lived beneath the official version of New York. This was his world. The underworld. The place where power moved in cash and blood. The warehouse smelled like salt and rust and something else. Fear, maybe, baked into the concrete. Men stopped talking when we walked in. Dangerous men with scarred knuckles and eyes that had seen things they couldn't unsee. They looked at me the way you look at a problem. At evidence. At something that needs to be disappeared. Dominic's hand found the small of my back. Protective. Possessive. She's with me. The tension shifted. Not gone, but redirected. A man emerged from an office in the back. Older than Dominic. Silver threading through dark hair, with a face that suggested intelligence and cruelty in equal measure. Vincent. I remembered the name from my nervous Googling. Dominic's second in command. His brother in everything but blood. Boss. Vincent's eyes slid over me, assessing. This her. This is Emily. Dominic's voice was steel wrapped in silk. She's under my protection. She's seen too much. Vincent lit a cigarette. Smoke curling between them like a question. Bringing civilians here. She's not a civilian anymore. Dominic moved past him, pulling me deeper into the warehouse. Someone made sure of that. The back room was surveillance central. Monitors lined the walls, showing camera feeds from locations I didn't recognize. But it was the corkboard that stopped my heart. Photographs pinned in neat rows, dozens of them. My coffee shop, my bus route, the library where I sometimes read on Sundays, the grocery store on Lexington, my entire life, documented like evidence, like I was the subject of some investigation I didn't know existed. And there, in the center, a photo of me and Julia from 3 years ago. My sister. My dead sister. Her smile frozen in time. Before the mugging that killed her. Before I learned that the world takes people it has no right to take. What is this? My voice barely worked. Dominic's jaw tightened, a muscle jumping beneath the skin. This isn't random. Someone wanted me to notice you. They've been building to this for months. Building to what? Vincent flicked ash into a tray. Your bait, sweetheart. Question is, bait for what? I couldn't breathe. The walls closed in. All those photographs, all those stolen moments, meant someone had chosen me, marked me, turned me into ammunition in a war I didn't understand. Who? I whispered. Dominic and Vincent exchanged a look, the kind of look that speaks in a language built from years of shared violence. We have theories, Vincent said carefully. I want names. Emily, Dominic started. I want names. My voice cracked, echoed off concrete. Someone has been watching me, photographing me, planning something. You brought me here, showed me this, so don't treat me like I'm fragile. Give me names. Silence. Then Dominic reached for a file on the desk. Opened it. Inside, more photographs, but these were different. Crime scene photos, bodies, blood, a restaurant in Little Italy, shattered windows, chalk outlines. Marcus Valenti, Dominic said quietly. My father's former partner. He betrayed the family 5 years ago. Disappeared? We thought he was dead or smart enough to stay disappeared. He looked at me, and something in his eyes was almost apologetic. We were wrong. He flipped to another photo. My breath stopped. Julia. My sister. Julia. Alive in this photograph. Sitting in a cafe I didn't recognize. Across from her, a man I'd never seen. 40-something. Ordinary face. The kind you'd forget immediately. That's Valenti, Dominic said. This photo was taken in Rome, 4 months before your sister died. The world tilted. No, that's not. Julia never went to Rome. She was a social worker. She lived in Connecticut. She flew to Rome twice that year. Vincent pulled up records on one of the monitors. Airline tickets, hotel receipts, all bearing Julia Harris's name. She met with Valenti both times. I shook my head. Denial felt safer than understanding. My sister wasn't involved in whatever this is. She was good. She helped people. She was good? Dominic agreed softly. That's probably why Valenti used her. The pieces assembled themselves against my will. Julia's weird phone calls that last year. The bruise she blamed on walking into a door. The way she'd hugged me too tight at Christmas, like she was memorizing the feeling. The voicemail I'd saved for 3 years because I couldn't bear to delete her voice. What did he use her for? We don't know yet. Dominic closed the file. But he's using you now. This photograph? He held up the Polaroid. Is a message. To me, he wants me to know he can reach you. That nothing I protect is safe. So what do? You let me keep you alive. His hand found my chin, tilted my face up. I can do that, Emily. I can keep you breathing. But I can't keep you free. Those are different things. The words hung between us. A choice that wasn't really a choice. What's the difference? I whispered. Freedom means going back to your apartment, your job, your life. Pretending this didn't happen. His thumb brushed my jaw, gentle despite the calluses. Safety means you stay close. You trust me. You let me build a cage around you that looks like protection but feels like prison. I thought about my empty apartment. My waitress job that barely paid rent. The life I'd been living that turned out to be a lie, because someone had been watching, planning, turning me into a weapon. I'll take the cage, I said. Something flickered in his eyes. Relief, maybe, or regret. Vincent cleared his throat. Boss, you should see this. He'd pulled up another file on the monitor. Financial records, bank transfers, and there, highlighted in yellow, a deposit to Julia Harris's account, $50,000, 2 weeks before she died. The timestamp was damning, but it was the source account that made everything worse. Corleone Holdings, LLC. I looked at Dominic. You paid my sister. Not me. His voice was hollow. My father. Before I took over the business. Why? Vincent answered before Dominic could. The question isn't why your sister took money from us, sweetheart. He turned the monitor so I could see the full transaction history. Dozens of deposits. Hundreds of thousands of dollars over 8 months. The question is what she did to earn it. The photograph on the corkboard seemed to pulse. Julia's smile. My sister. My good sister who'd never hurt anyone. Dominic's phone rang. He answered in Italian, his face going carefully blank. When he hung up, he looked at me with something like pity. Valenti sent a message, he said quietly. He has files, proof of what your sister was involved in. And he'll release them. To the police, to the media, to everyone, unless I give him what he wants. What does he want? Me. Dominic's smile was cold. Dead or destroyed. He's not picky. Vincent pulled up one more image. Security footage. Grainy. Time-stamped 3 years ago. A warehouse that looked like this warehouse. And there, in the corner of the frame, Julia Harris, serving coffee at what looked like a meeting. Men in suits. Business that wasn't business. My sister. In this world. In his world. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I opened the message with shaking hands. A video file. 30 seconds long. CCTV footage from an alley I recognized. 3 blocks from Julia's apartment in Connecticut. My sister walking. A car pulling up. A conversation. And then... The gunshot was silent, but I heard it anyway. Heard it in my bones. Watched my sister fall. Watched the car drive away. Watched her bleed out on concrete, while the timestamp counted seconds like they were nothing. The video ended. A text appeared below it. Your turn, unless he hands over what I want. 48 hours. MV Dominic took the phone from my hand before I dropped it. I couldn't stop seeing it. Julia falling, the way her body crumpled like paper, like she was nothing, like 28 years of life could end in a single silent frame. I'd watched my sister die. 3 years late, but I'd watched it. The mugging the police told us about, the random violence, wrong place, wrong time, was a lie. She'd been executed. And I was next. Emily! Dominic's voice came from somewhere far away. Look at me. I couldn't. The warehouse spun. My lungs forgot how to work. Emily! His hands cupped my face, forcing my eyes to his. Breathe. In. Out. Stay with me. He killed her. The words tasted like rust. He killed Julia, and now he's going to... No. Absolute. Final. He's not going to touch you. You can't promise that. I can promise whatever I want. That's what power means, remember? His thumbs brushed away tears I didn't remember crying. Vincent, clear the building. Now. Men moved. The warehouse emptied in 90 seconds. Just us. Just Dominic and me and the ghost of my sister bleeding out on a phone screen. We're leaving, Dominic said. You're not going back to your apartment. Not until this is finished. Where? My place. He was already moving, hand on my back, guiding me toward the door. It's secure. Cameras. Guards. 30 floors up with bulletproof glass. The safest place in this city. Marco had the car running. We drove through streets I didn't recognize. My mind stuck on replay. Julia falling, Julia dying, Julia living a life I never knew about. Working for the Corleones, taking money, getting killed for it. Why didn't you tell me? My voice sounded hollow. About Julia, about the money. You knew who she was when you met me. No? Dominic stared straight ahead. I knew the name, recognized it from old files after I took over, but I didn't make the connection until after, until you were already... He stopped, started again. Until you were already under my protection. You mean until I was already useful? He didn't deny it. That hurt worse than a lie would have. The penthouse was exactly what I expected and nothing like I'd imagined. Cold luxury, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan like a kingdom made of light. Minimalist furniture that cost more than my yearly salary. Everything white and black and chrome, sterile as a surgical room. Make yourself comfortable, Dominic said, which felt like a joke. We need to talk. He poured whiskey into crystal glasses, handed me one. I didn't drink it, just held it, feeling the weight, watching amber liquid catch the light. Valenti wants me dead, Dominic said. That's not new. He's wanted that since I had him excommunicated from the family. But he's smart. He knows a bullet won't work. I'm too protected, too careful. So instead, he's building leverage. Your sister was part of that. You're part of that. He's trying to make me vulnerable. By threatening me. By making me care about you. He took a drink. Which apparently worked. The admission hung between us. I didn't know what to do with it. So what now? I asked. I just live here? Hide? Wait for him to get bored? We set rules? He sat on the couch, gestured for me to join him. I stayed standing. Boundaries. Ways to keep you alive while we handle this. Handle this. You mean kill him? I mean neutralize the threat. His eyes were flat. Don't ask questions you don't want answered, Emily. Fair enough. My rules, Dominic said, holding up fingers. 1. You don't leave this building without Marco or someone I trust. Not for coffee, not for work, not for anything. 2. You don't contact anyone from your old life. Friends, family, co-workers, anyone who knows you becomes a target. 3. You don't lie to me. Not about where you're going, what you're thinking, who you're talking to. Honesty keeps you alive. The cage was tightening. I could feel it. And what do I get? You get to keep breathing. Not good enough. I set down the whiskey, moved closer. My rule? You don't make me disappear. I'm not a ghost. I'm not someone you lock in a tower and forget about. I get to know what's happening. I get to be part of decisions that involve my life. And you don't lie to me either. He studied me. Something almost like respect flickering behind the danger. Deal. We shook on it. His hand was warm, scarred across the knuckles. And when he didn't let go right away, I felt the current running between us. Attraction, fear, something neither of us was willing to name yet. The days blurred into strange domesticity. Dominic worked from home, calls in rapid Italian, paperwork spread across the dining table, men visiting who looked at me like I was a problem they hadn't solved yet. I learned his patterns. Black coffee at 6 a.m., 3 sugars he'd never admit to wanting. The way he rolled his shoulders before difficult phone calls, the scar on his collarbone he touched sometimes without realizing, a nervous tell in a man who never showed nerves. I read old murder mysteries I'd downloaded months ago. The irony wasn't lost on me, hiding from a real killer while reading about fictional ones. Vincent visited on the third day, brought files, spread them across the coffee table like tarot cards reading my future. "We've been tracking Valenti's movements," he said. "He's in the city. Brooklyn, we think. He's got a small crew. Nothing like what he used to run, but enough to be dangerous." "And Julia?" I couldn't help asking. "What was she doing for you?" Vincent looked at Dominic. Some silent conversation passed between them. "She was a courier," Dominic said finally. "She'd deliver packages, documents, things that needed to look innocent, a social worker visiting clients. No one questions that." "What kind of documents?" "Financial records, contracts, nothing violent." He paused. "At first," my stomach dropped. "At first, your sister figured out what she was carrying. Got scared. Wanted out." Dominic's voice was careful. "My father, who ran things then, wasn't good at letting people walk away, so she went to Valenti, asked for help, protection, and he killed her instead. He used her to get information. Then yes, he killed her." Dominic leaned forward, elbows on knees. "I'm sorry, Emily. I took over the family business to change things, to be better than my father was. But your sister's death, that blood is still on Corleone's hands. The honesty was almost worse than the lie would have been. That night, I couldn't sleep. Found Dominic awake at 3 a.m., standing at the windows, staring at the city like it owed him answers. The lights below looked like stars. Like we were in space, untethered from Earth and consequence. I had a sister too," he said quietly. Didn't turn around, just spoke to the glass, to his own reflection. "Sophia, she was 7 when she died. I moved closer, stood beside him. Our shoulders almost touched. What happened? My father's war with Valenti. She was supposed to be at school. Safe. But Valenti's men didn't care about safe. They cared about sending a message." His jaw worked. "I was 16. I heard the gunshots. I ran. But I wasn't fast enough. Dominic, I didn't protect her." He finally looked at me and his eyes were raw. "That's the worst part. The reason I do all of this. The control, the rules, the obsessive security. I failed once. I won't fail again." The admission hung between us, heavy and real. For the first time since this started, I saw him as something other than dangerous. Something human. Something broken trying to hold itself together with power and violence and impossible promises. I did something stupid, something brave. I reached for his hand. He didn't pull away. We stood like that, 2 damaged people in a penthouse castle, while the city breathed below us. His thumb traced circles on my wrist, unconscious, gentle. And I understood that whatever was happening between us was more dangerous than Valenti, than the threats, than any of it. Because I was starting to trust him. And trust, in a world like this, was the most dangerous weapon of all. Vincent's call came at dawn. Dominic answered in Italian, his face going carefully blank. When he hung up, he looked at me with something I couldn't read. What? My heart already knew, already understood. Customs record, flagged by our contact at the port. He pulled up an image on his phone. Showed me. Julia Harris. Flew to Rome 2 weeks before her death. You already knew that. To meet with Valenti, yes. He zoomed in on the passenger manifest. But look at the return date. I looked. My sister's name, JFK Airport, 3 days before she died. She wasn't alone, Dominic said quietly. The manifest showed 2 passengers on that return flight, Julia Harris and Marcus Valenti. They came back together, I whispered, which means she didn't just work for him. Dominic's voice was hollow. She trusted him. Maybe even... His phone buzzed. Security footage, forwarded by Vincent. Timestamp, 3 years ago, JFK arrivals. And there, my sister, walking through baggage claim. Laughing. Holding hands with a man whose face I now knew too well. Marcus Valenti. The man who would kill her 72 hours later. My sister hadn't just been involved. She'd been in love with her murderer. The footage played on loop in my head. Julia laughing. Julia holding his hand. Julia in love with the man who put a bullet in her. I couldn't reconcile it. My sister, practical, cautious Julia who checked smoke detector batteries and never jaywalked. Tangled up with a Mafia turncoat, flying to Rome, carrying packages, falling for someone who would kill her like she was nothing. I need to see everything, I told Dominic. Every file, every record, everything you have on my sister. Emily. Everything. He brought the boxes at noon. 3 cardboard boxes that contained my sister's secret life, bank statements showing deposits I couldn't explain, hotel receipts from cities she'd never mentioned, photographs of Julia in restaurants I didn't recognize, wearing dresses I'd never seen, smiling at cameras held by someone who wasn't family, and emails. God, the emails. I read them on Dominic's laptop while he made calls in the other room, giving me space to shatter in private. Julia's words on the screen. Casual, affectionate, then desperate, then terrified. Marco, I can't do this anymore. I thought I was helping, but I see what these packages really are. Marco, please. I want out. I'll disappear. I won't talk. Just let me go. Marco, I love you, but I can't be part of this. My sister. Emily doesn't know. She can't ever know. Marco. Marcus. Valenti had used a fake name. Of course he had. The final email was dated 4 days before her death. I'm going to the FBI. I'm sorry. I have to do the right thing. Please don't follow me. Please just let me go. Jay. I closed the laptop before I threw it, pressed my palms against my eyes until I saw stars. Julia had tried to be good, tried to walk away, and it killed her. There's more. Dominic's voice came from the doorway, gentle, careful. In the 3rd box. I didn't want to looked anyway. Julia's personal effects. Returned to our mother after the police investigation closed. A watch. A necklace. Her phone. Locked. Useless without the password I didn't have. And beneath it all, wrapped in tissue paper like something precious. A small journal. My hands shook opening it. Julia's handwriting. Dates spanning 8 months. The whole story in her own words. Met someone today. Marco. He was kind when I dropped my coffee. Helped me clean up. Asked for my number. I said yes. Marco knows about my work. Says he can help me make real money. Enough to pay off student loans. Enough to help mom with the mortgage. Just small deliveries. Nothing dangerous. I asked what's in the packages. He won't say, but the money is so good. And he says he loves me. I think I love him too. Something's wrong. The packages are getting heavier. Marco's acting different. Cold sometimes, like I'm a tool instead of a person. I saw one of the documents today. Money laundering, weapons shipments. I'm carrying evidence of crimes. What have I done? Marco isn't who he said. His real name is Valenti. He worked for the Corleones. He betrayed them, used me to hide his money. I've been helping a criminal this whole time. I told him I'm done. He said I don't get to be done. He said I know too much. He said if I talk, Emily gets hurt. My little sister. I won't let him touch her. I'm calling the FBI tomorrow. I have copies of everything. They can protect me. They have to protect me. Emily. If you're reading this, I'm sorry. I thought I was being smart. I was just being stupid. Don't trust charming men in coffee shops. Don't trust anyone. I love you. Julia. The journal fell from my hands. Dominic picked it up. Read the last entry. His face was stone. She was trying to protect you, he said quietly. That's why she went to the FBI, why she threatened to expose Valenti. She knew he'd use you against her. And he killed her anyway. My voice sounded dead. Then waited 3 years and came for me. Not random. Dominic sat beside me, close but not touching. He watched you, studied you, learned your patterns. Then he made sure I'd notice you. Made sure I'd do exactly what I did. Protect you, bring you into my world, make you matter to me. Why? Because you're leverage. He pulled up security footage on his phone, the coffee shop, the day I paid for his espresso. But this angle showed something I hadn't seen before. A man across the street. Watching, filming. Valenti orchestrated the whole thing. Told me where you'd be, what time. He knew I went to that coffee shop, knew I'd be there that Tuesday. He set the stage. My kindness hadn't been random. It had been planned, manipulated. I was a puppet and didn't know someone else held the strings. He's using Julia's death to control you, I said slowly. and using me to make sure you care enough to break. Yes. So what does he want? Really? Dominic was quiet for a long moment. Then he opened another file. Financial records, territory maps, names I didn't recognize, my supply routes, my connections, everything that makes the Corleone family powerful. He wants back in, wants to destroy me and take over what I built. And if you don't give it to him, he releases evidence that connects us to dozens of crimes. Your sister's testimony, documents she copied, enough to put me away for life. He looked at me. And he kills you, slowly, on camera, so I can watch. The room tilted. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I knew before opening it what I'd see. A video. 30 seconds. My apartment. My old apartment. Ransacked. Furniture overturned. Pictures smashed and spray painted across the living room wall in red. 48 hours became 24. Tick-tock. Below it. A text. Next time, it's not empty. Next time, it's her blood on the walls. Give me what I want or watch her die like Julia did. MV Dominic went silent in a way that made the air feel thin. Not rage, not panic. Just a terrible, focused stillness, like watching a predator calculate angles before the kill. He stared at the video message for exactly 5 seconds, then made a phone call, spoke in Italian, clipped, cold, commands that didn't require confirmation because failure wasn't an option. What are you doing? I asked. Solving the problem. He ended the call. Made another. Vincent, wake everyone. Full mobilization. I want every asset we have on the street in 30 minutes. Dominic, Marco, secure the building. No one in or out without my authorization. You can't just... He finally looked at me. His eyes were empty. Yes, I can. That's what you don't understand yet, Emily. When someone threatens what's mine, I don't negotiate. I don't hesitate. I erase the threat. By doing what? Exactly. Whatever's necessary. Men started arriving within the hour. Dozens of them. Soldiers, Vincent called them, though they wore suits instead of uniforms. They gathered in the penthouse living room that suddenly felt like a war room. Laptops open, phones buzzing, maps spread across the dining table marking territories in red and black. I watched from the hallway. Invisible. Irrelevant. The thing they were protecting, but not including. Vincent noticed me first. Pulled Dominic aside. Their voices low, but not low enough. She's a liability, Vincent said. She's seen too much, knows too much. If the feds get to her, they won't. You're compromised. You care about her. That makes you weak. I'm handling it. Are you? Because from where I'm standing, Valenti's winning. He's got you dancing to his tune, mobilizing resources, acting reactive instead of strategic. That's not the boss I know. Dominic's voice dropped to something dangerous. And I said I'm handling it. But Vincent was right. I could see it in the way Dominic moved. Aggressive instead of calculated. Emotional instead of cold. Valenti had found the crack in his armor. Me. A waitress who paid for coffee and accidentally bought herself a Mafia boss's attention. The operation launched at sunset. I wasn't allowed details, just told to stay in the penthouse, stay away from windows, stay quiet. Marco stationed himself outside my door like a prison guard, like I was valuable cargo that needed watching. I lasted 2 hours before breaking the rules. Dominic's laptop sat unattended in his office, still logged in, still showing the surveillance feeds Vincent had been monitoring. I shouldn't have looked anyway. Red Hook, a warehouse district I recognized from our previous visit. But this time the cameras showed something different. Men pouring in. Dominic's men, armed, organized, surrounding a building that looked abandoned but clearly wasn't. Then fire. Flames erupting from windows, spreading fast, consuming metal and wood and whoever, was inside. The feeds showed men running out, caught by Dominic's soldiers, forced to their knees. No sound, but I could read their lips. Begging, pleading, my stomach turned. You weren't supposed to see that. Dominic's voice came from behind me. I spun. He stood in the doorway, still wearing the leather jacket from earlier, smelling like smoke and night air and violence. His knuckles were split. Fresh blood. "What did you do?" I whispered. "Valenti's main distribution center. His money, his product, his people." He said it like reading a grocery list. "Gone." "You burned them alive?" "I burned a building." "The people who got out talked. The ones who didn't." He shrugged. "Made choices." I felt sick. This was protection. This was safety. Watching him become something monstrous because someone threatened me. "I didn't ask for this," I said. "You didn't have to." He moved closer, and I saw the exhaustion beneath the cold. "This is what it means, Emily. Being with me, being protected by me. This is the cost. Burning people, keeping you alive." He gripped my shoulders, not rough, but firm. "Valenti won't stop. He's escalating. That video, your apartment, was a promise. Next time it's you. So yes, I burned his warehouse. Yes, I hurt his people. And I'll do worse if that's what it takes. I don't want you to become a monster for me." Too late. His smile was broken. "I've always been a monster, Emily. You just saw the human parts first." The news broke at 11 p.m. Warehouse fire in Red Hook, no suspects. 3 dead, 7 injured. Federal investigators en route because the building was allegedly tied to organized crime. My doing. Because I'd paid for coffee. Because I'd been kind to the wrong person. Because 3 years ago, my sister fell in love with a criminal and now I was paying her debts in blood. Dominic's phone rang. He answered, listened, and his face went carefully blank. "What?" I already knew it was bad. "Federal agents. Downstairs. They want to talk to me about the fire. About Valenti. About..." He stopped. "About connections between my business and unsolved murders from 3 years ago. Julia. They found evidence at the warehouse, before it burned, documents Valenti kept, your sister's testimony, recorded conversations." He pulled up an email Vincent had forwarded, FBI warrant, search and seizure. "They're building a case. Against Valenti? Yes, but also against me. Can they prove anything? Not yet. But they're getting close." He paced, thinking. "And if they connect the dots? If they trace Julia's work back to my father's operations, then to mine. You go to prison. For life." He stopped pacing. Looked at me. "Unless someone cooperates. Someone who knew Julia. Someone who has access to information the FBI needs. Someone they'd offer immunity to in exchange for testimony." The implication hung heavy. "You think I'd testify against you?" My voice cracked. "I think you'd testify against Valenti, and the FBI doesn't always care about the difference." He sat on the edge of his desk, suddenly looking older, tired. "Vincent's right. I'm compromised. I've made mistakes, tactical errors, all because I care more about keeping you alive than keeping myself safe. I never asked for that. I know." He reached for my hand, held it. "But here we are anyway." The doorbell rang. Marco's voice on the intercom. "Boss, FBI. They're insisting." Dominic stood, buttoned his jacket, became the dangerous man again, hiding the human parts. "Stay here. Don't come out. Don't say anything. Dominic, I mean it, Emily. Whatever happens, you stay silent." He paused at the door. "Promise me." "I promise." He left. I heard voices in the living room. Official, cold, questions about whereabouts and business associates and fires that killed people. Dominic's answers smooth as glass, revealing nothing, admitting less. Then a woman's voice, familiar somehow. I crept to the hallway, peered around the corner. An FBI agent stood in the living room, Asian, mid-30s, sharp suit and sharper eyes. She was showing Dominic a photograph. I couldn't see what it was, but I saw his face change. "I don't know her," he said. "Really?" The agent's voice was skeptical. "Because we have surveillance footage of you with Emily Harris. Multiple times, multiple locations. A woman whose sister was murdered while working for Marcus Valenti. A woman who's currently living in your penthouse." She smiled without warmth. "Want to try that answer again?" My heart stopped. The agent turned, and our eyes met across the room. She looked at me like a puzzle piece clicking into place. "Emily Harris," she said. "I'm Special Agent Sarah Chen. I knew your sister, She was cooperating with us before she died. She pulled out a business card, held it up so I could see, if you want justice, real justice, I can help. But you have to testify against Corleone. Dominic's voice cut through the silence. She's under my protection. She doesn't have to talk to you. She's a witness to federal crimes, Sarah countered. And if she doesn't cooperate voluntarily? She let the threat hang. I stood frozen between them, between safety and justice, between the man protecting me and the law demanding answers. Sarah Chen left her card on the table. Think about it, Emily. Your sister died trying to do the right thing. Don't let her sacrifice be for nothing. They left. Marco locked the door behind them, and I stood in the hallway holding Sarah Chen's business card, understanding finally what Valenti had really done. He hadn't just made me bait. He'd made me the weapon that would destroy Dominic from the inside. I didn't tell Dominic about the card burning a hole in my pocket, just watched him make calls, coordinate defenses, build walls around us that felt more like a tomb than protection. He was fighting a war on 3 fronts, Valenti hunting us, the FBI closing in, and something worse, the knowledge that I held the power to end him with a single conversation. Vincent noticed first, cornered me in the kitchen while Dominic was on a call. You're thinking about it, he said quietly. The FBI's offer. I'm not. Don't lie, I can see it. He leaned against the counter, arms crossed. Let me save you the moral crisis. You testify. Dominic goes to prison. Valenti maybe goes down too, maybe doesn't. The FBI will promise you protection, but protection means witness relocation. New name, new city, new life. You disappear either way. At least I'd be alive. Would you? His smile was cold. Because Valenti has reach, sweetheart, and revenge is patient. You think a new name keeps you safe from a man who spent 3 years setting this trap? He was right. I knew he was right. But the alternative was staying here, letting Dominic fight a war he couldn't win, watching him become more monster than man. That night, I made the call I shouldn't make. Sarah Chen answered on the second ring. Emily. I need to know something first. My voice shook. If I testify, does Marcus Valenti go down too? She hesitated. Fatal pause. We need Corleone's organization more. Valenti's small time compared to... I hung up, so that was it. The FBI wanted Dominic, not justice, wanted to dismantle what he'd built, and Julia's murder was just convenient leverage. They didn't care about my sister, didn't care about me, just wanted their conviction numbers. There was only one move left. I pulled out the USB drive from Julia's box, the one with security footage, recorded conversations, evidence she'd died protecting. Then I did something stupid, something brave. I texted the number from the warehouse, the one that had sent threats and videos and promises of violence. Meet me. Alone. I have what you want. Emily. The response came in seconds. St. Augustine's, Queens, midnight. Come alone, or don't come at all. MV. I waited until Dominic fell asleep. Until Marco's shift changed and the new guard was settling in. Until the penthouse was quiet except for the hum of the city below. Then I slipped out. The church was abandoned, gutted by fire years ago and left to rot. Pews like broken teeth, stained glass in shards. And standing at the altar, Marcus Valenti. He looked ordinary. That was the worst part. 40-something, thinning hair, kind eyes. The kind of man who'd help you carry groceries. The kind of man who'd shoot my sister in an alley and sleep fine after. You look like her, he said softly. You killed her. My voice was steady, stronger than I felt. She was going to talk. I gave her a choice. He shrugged. She chose wrong. There's always a choice. Not in this world, sweetheart. He lit a cigarette, and the flame illuminated his face. Shadows and smoke. But you're smarter than Julia. You came here, that means you want something. I held up the USB drive, everything my sister collected, every piece of evidence, every recorded conversation. I copied it, sent it to journalists, lawyers, the FBI. It publishes automatically if anything happens to me. Mostly a bluff, but he didn't need to know that. Valenti smiled. Smart girl, but you're still here, which means you want something more than insurance. I want the truth. My hands were shaking. And why Julia? Why me? What's the real game? He took a drag. exhaled slowly. You really don't know? Know what? Dominic Corleone didn't find you by accident. Emily, that coffee shop. I told him where you'd be. Your kindness. I set the stage. You were always the bait. His smile turned cruel. And he took it. Fell for you just like I knew he would. The man protecting you is the reason your sister's dead. The world tilted. What? Julia was Corleone property first, working for his father. When I turned against the family, I took her with me, used her to steal their secrets. She died because the Corleones wanted their asset back, and I wouldn't give her up. You're lying. A gun cocked behind me. Vincent stepped from the shadows, weapon raised. But he wasn't aiming at Valenti. He was aiming at me. Time fractured. Vincent's gun. Valenti's laugh. The cold realization that I'd walked into a trap thinking I was setting one. Vincent. My voice barely worked. Sorry, sweetheart. He didn't sound sorry. But you're the problem. You always were. Dominic's blind spot, his weakness. And this family doesn't survive weakness. Valenti's smile widened. See? Even his own people know it. You've made him soft, Emily. Sloppy. The old Dominic would have ended this weeks ago. But you made him hesitate. Put it down, Vincent. Dominic's voice cut through the church like a blade. He emerged from behind a pillar, flanked by Marco and two others, shadows becoming men. He'd followed me. Of course he had. Vincent's hand shook. Boss, she's a liability. She knows too much. She'll destroy us. She's mine. Dominic's voice was ice. And you don't touch what's mine. Even when it kills you. Vincent's desperation bled through. And she's got the FBI's card in her pocket. She's got evidence that could bury us all. The gunshot was precise. Not fatal, but Vincent's weapon clattered to the floor. He grabbed his shoulder, blood seeping between fingers. You're relieved of duty, Dominic said quietly. Effective immediately. More men poured in. Dominic's men. The church filled with bodies and tension, and the understanding that this had been choreographed, planned. Dominic had known I'd come here, had let me walk into Valenti's trap so he could spring his own. Valenti tried to run, made it 3 steps before Marco caught him, forced him to his knees, but Dominic didn't pull a trigger. He pulled out his phone, made a call. Agent Chen, I have something you want. My heart stopped. Sarah Chen arrived with a team in 12 minutes, FBI windbreakers, weapons drawn. She looked at the scene, Valenti on his knees, Vincent bleeding, me standing frozen. And something like understanding crossed her face. Dominic handed her a file. Thick, heavy with secrets. Everything you need on Marcus Valenti. Trafficking routes, money laundering, murder for hire, including Julia Harris's case. Every detail, every witness, every piece of evidence. Sarah's eyes widened. Why? Because he killed an innocent woman. Because he threatened someone under my protection, and because... Dominic looked at me, and something raw flickered in his face. Because some debts can't be paid in blood. They arrested Valenti, read him his rights while he spat promises of revenge, threats that would never materialize, curses that died in the empty church. Vincent, too, taken away for obstruction and attempted murder. Sarah lingered, looked at Dominic. This doesn't clear you. You know that. I know. His voice was calm, but it's a start. And her, Sarah nodded at me. Emily's still a witness. She still has information. She's free to talk to you, anytime she wants. No pressure, no threats. Dominic stepped back, hands open. I'm not holding her hostage, Agent Chen. I never was. Sarah studied us both, then handed me a card, different from the first one. When you're ready to tell your story, your real story, call me. They left, took Valenti and Vincent and the immediate threat with them. The church fell silent except for footsteps echoing on stone, except for my heart trying to remember how to beat normally. Dominic looked at me across the space between us. You came here alone. I had to. You could have been killed. I know. I moved closer. But I'm tired of being saved. Dominic. I needed to fight. You could have told me. Would you have let me come? His silence was answer enough, Valenti said. I stopped. Started again. He said Julia died because of your family. That she was yours first. She was my father's asset, not mine. I didn't even know her. His voice was hollow. But yes, she died because of Corleone business. That blood is still on our hands. And me? Was I just another asset? At first, the honesty was brutal. Valenti used you to bait me, and I fell for it. Kept you close because it was strategic. Smart. He stepped closer, and I saw the exhaustion, the weight of choices that couldn't be unmade. But then you touched my hand in the dark. Then you looked at me like I was human. Then you became the only real thing in my life. That's not enough. I know. He didn't reach for me. Didn't try to hold me when I needed to stand alone. So what now? I thought about Julia. About her journal, her choices, her death. About becoming someone's pawn or becoming someone who played her own game. Now I testify, I said. Everything I know, everything I've seen. Valenti, yes. But also the truth about your world. About protection that looks like prison. About power that costs too much. He nodded slowly. And us? There is no us. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I pulled Sarah Chen's card from my pocket. You gave me freedom. Now I have to figure out what to do with it. 2 months later, I stood in a new apartment. Smaller than Dominic's penthouse. Bigger than my old place. Paid for with settlement money from Julia's case. From testimony that put Valenti away for life. I saw Marco sometimes. At the coffee shop. Keeping distant watch. Dominic kept his promise. Protection without prison. We met once more. A rainy Tuesday, full circle. He sat at the counter, ordered coffee. When I brought it, he smiled. Sad. Real. You're free, he said. I always was. I set down the cup. I just had to remember. He left cash on the counter. Too much. And a card with his private number. If you ever need anything. I kept the card this time. Not because I needed saving. Because some debts, the real ones, aren't paid with money or blood. They're paid with choice. I opened my laptop, started writing. Julia's story. My story. The truth no one else would tell. The window was open. The city breathed below. And for the first time in years, I breathed back. If you made it to the end of this story, let us know in the comments which city you're watching from. And click the yellow bell to subscribe to the channel and support us. Keep the adventure going by clicking on the suggested video on your screen.